But with that, I think we should get started. So when Abhijit came to me on the phone and said, Amit, can you do this talk? And I was like, oh my God, this is a very, very interesting topic, which is really dear to me. But I could not take any of my older talks and recycle them. So he really put me to challenge and to work for the last few weeks. I've been trying to put all this together because it has a complete different take than just showing selected works by so and so. So I'm going to try my best to, see if your time is worthwhile listening to and looking at some of the work that I've done and I'm doing right now here in Arizona. We may see some work that I've done for other companies in Singapore, which I will selectively show. So in any event, so when he said like it's a tale of tales or tale of details, I suddenly thought of my childhood, and there was this particular book written by Elizabeth Macpherson, and a paragraph from there started coming to my mind because a tale is also a detail. And so I was trying to look up something and says a tail is a detail at the end of the spinal column. It communicates in a dog by wagging. It balances the cheetah during high-speed chase. It propels an alligator in water. It is a rudder for a fish. It deceives in a double-faced snake. It hides and wipes the butt clean of a cow. Acts as a fly swatter in a buffalo. It is a limb of a monkey to hang on a branch. It helps the blind shrew, we call chachundar in India, blind shrew babies to follow the mom. It helps the birds to fly and change direction. And at last, but not the least, the human tail is invisible. So you have to be very careful. Please, on the lighter side, I started this note saying that please do not step on any human tail, even by mistake, especially the professors. So with that, I think we should move forward. So to me, detail is everything, and everything is a detail. Detail does not have a scale per se. It can be anything, and we'll see how the scale or no scale works for a detail. The solar system is a detail of the galaxy. The Earth is a detail of the solar system, so on and so forth. The Power of 10 by Charles and Ray Eames, I would like to mention that that's a really cool documentary that every student should watch, which talks about the macro and the micro level of things. So a dot is the beginning and the end. And then all we know is on this dot. Earth is the detail of our solar system. We are born on this dot and we will merge in this dot. A dot is infinity, and infinite are these dots. Each dot could represent a galaxy or a nebulae. Infinity minus infinity is infinity from the Ishavasya Upanishad. A dot is the beginning of a detail. A bindi in Indian context is the beginning of the ornamental exuberance. So with that, I'm going to turn to the Southwest in America, where I've generally or have practiced the most in the last 20, 30 years of practice. So the Southwest in America has really an amazing landscape. The light and the expanse is absolutely liberating sometimes. And you're in this magnificent space and light, and which comes from the top, and you're look at the scale of that human being versus this sheer cliffs coming down. And then during my travels, I've also seen in the Marble Canyon the Native Americans who have built along the rocks and the boulders that have tumbled down. So if you look at the Indian ruins, the Native American ruins in the Canyon de Chelly or the famous Grand Canyon, the monumentality and sheer severe rock that really comes to my mind, and how the native flora in the desert deals with the sun is of utmost interest to me. And through my observations, I've realized a few things about how to deal with the sun in the harsh climate of the Southwest in the Sonoran Desert. So you're seeing some acacia plants, these compounded leaves that are trying to avoid the sun. But with that, I get this transparency and kind of a dapple light that comes through, and the saguaro that has these ribs on it to stay about 50% in shade. And then on the right side, you're seeing another cacti with the Fibonacci series. And I'm interested in the precision of construction. This is the Jantar Mantar in Jaipur. I'm absolutely interested in how the sun plays a role in forming and informing the architecture. The precision of construction in the Modera temple, and then another temple in Maharashtra, which is called the Khidrapur. And I'm looking at the tightness and rigor of the Salk Institute that is done by Louis Kahn. You can see how tight this facade is and how he opens up to the things. And mainly, there's a composition there. There's a sense of order, and then that creates this rigor, which is born into and it shapes the architecture for him, which is integral part of the whole thing. So we all know this quote, God is in the details, by Mies van der Rohe. And I interpret it a little bit differently. To me, the God is in the detailer. The God is in the architect who is detailing everything so that the architecture can be in the detail. So in Kahn's language, if you look at this, joint is the beginning of the ornament. And to him, this ornament is not superficial. It is integral part of the structure of the building. And you should read more about this. And then I'm also showing you on the bottom, there's a Salk Institute. There's the proportions and alignment as this central water feature that is aligned on a sun setting angle of a particular day, composed through the that rectangle that you're seeing, which is the golden section. And then if you look at some of the Indian architecture, on the left side, you're seeing this mosque, which is getting this reflected light from the Taj Mahal. And on the right side, you're seeing the Khidrapur temple, which is a Sabha Mandap of that. And in that oculus, sometimes it exactly centers a full moon in the night. And these are marvelous moments in architecture to me. My career mainly started in Ahmedabad, working for Anant Raje and on the IIM. But here is where I started my own practice, mainly in the US in early 2000s. But I started with small things. And I'm showing you this one little jewelry box that I built as a gift for my wife. And that sort of started my career because it was noticed in a magazine, it was published in a magazine, and so on and so forth, and the work started flowing in. This is the tissue paper, the bath tissues. That's how we store them. It's a patented idea about, instead of putting it under their cabinets, I put them on the wall, and you exactly know how many you have and stuff, and then the tea light holder and all of that. So I started very, very small, but that detail migrated, the detail continued to be expressed in this coffee table. And you can see that same detail that came from that jewelry box became larger to kind of come into this coffee table, which is made out of purple heartwood, coming from South America. And it was exhibited in several furniture exhibitions. And in my office, we have this huge paper on the wall where we are very, very spontaneously discussing design, discussing how we're going to put the details together. We brainstorm on this paper. When it fills up, we throw and start a new, fresh one. And then this sometimes makes it to the field, sometimes it doesn't, but it's okay. This platform is for everybody in the office to start discussing how to build a detail. On the right side, you're seeing a sort of a very freehand sketch that is talking about the sun, the angles of the sun on the solstice, and how to avoid that in the desert. And on the left side, again, there are discussions about how the sun is being prohibited to get inside because it's really harsh. It's about 120, sometimes 118 degrees Fahrenheit temperatures, which is translates to 49 degrees or 50 degrees Celsius in India. And I work through different mediums. Sometimes on an iPad, I'm sketching something, sometimes on a sketchbook, sometimes I take my watercolors out and start sketching. So there's various ways how details can be manifested. You just saw that one detail. This project right now is almost going to start construction. We are waiting for the permits to happen. It's for a NASA planetary scientist, and I'm interested in the sky, in the sun, in the stars, and all of that. So this particular angle that you're seeing, it is actually facing the North Star. And North Star, the pole star, the Polaris, is sort of the center of everything. The whole, our human-centric Earth and the universe sort of moves around this pole star. And so I wanted to celebrate that. So this is a bathroom detail that you're seeing on the right side. It translates into a section on the left side there. And it translates into a wall section. And then we start talking about how every detail is coming together. This is a steel, aluminum powder coated aluminum plate that comes out that holds the glass. And there's a screening element on the top that comes out, and it becomes sort of a sunshade for that particular glass element, especially in the summer suns when the sun is rising low and it's hot. So this is how we work in the office. We actually meticulously draw up everything. Now we're going back in time. This is Essence of the Desert project. This is a Sonoran Desert in Phoenix, in Scottsdale, in Arizona. And this is where this particular site is. And so what happened was I was hiking once and I looked at these boulders and I looked at them and said, the life can thrive in the shadow of the boulders. And then a thought came to my mind, like, how can I make this into a house? How can this one image be translated, or this abstract image become a house? So what I did was I took one of these boulders in my mind's hand and pressed it, and it became sort of this plasticine wall, if you will, and it became this wall on the left side. And that left side wall gave me this ginormous shadow. And then I said, the life of my client, the family of my client can thrive in the shadow of these abstract boulders. So these are those boulders in an abstract way. And on the top, that circle that you're seeing, that is the sun diagram for this particular site. So I'm studying the sun. This is my student, Trevor Pentecost. He's holding this clinometer, and we're starting to look at the angles of the sun, angles of the mountains, what the views might be. And when I did that, the sun said to me that you're turning your back towards this beautiful sunsets. And I started looking at how I can change something. And so I made a notch on the right, on this side, in which the sun was allowed, or by design, it sets in this particular notch on the anniversary of my clients. So detail becomes sort of the integral part of everything that we do in our studio here. And right from models to studies. And so now we are seeing this plan. So you're looking at the entry element, and then this yellow line that you're seeing, that is the sun angle of their wedding anniversary. And on the right side, you're seeing a drone photograph of how this particular house is done. It's not only talking about the poetics of the sun, but it also completely runs on the solar power, which is the pragmatics of the sun. So we are using poetics and pragmatics at the same time. So you're seeing this living room right here. This becomes the kitchen, which is the heart of the American home. And then this is the family room, the kids' playroom right there, and a detached guest house for their in-laws to come and stay there during the winter months. And then with those sun angles that we looked at, the equinox is perfectly aligned on the central spine, the circulation spine on the second floor. This is the anniversary angle of the sun rising across the mountains. So we picked up those exact morning sunlight that clears the mountains and comes into the house on a particular day. And then above here is the loft. There are 2 bedrooms, and then a nanny's room right here. There's a gym on the other side and a deck. So the construction started, and during construction, I was kind of forced to invent a tool for the mason because I wanted this particular joint of the masonry where it doesn't hold the water and seeps in. So I wanted that 45-degree angle, and the mason was like, nope, I'm going to charge you extra money. So I invented this tool for him. So see, to the extent of what detailing for an architect can go through, I had to invent this tool that is a simple L angle, which is welded with this flat bar, and then another flat bar on top that actually gets this angle inside, and all he has to do is slide this across the masonry, and that generates this 45-degree angle. And he was very, very happy to have these tools to give it to his masons. And this is how the house was done. You're seeing the solar panels on the downside here. You're seeing this arrival court with the gate. You come in, there is a 4-car garage, and then as you pull in, that same detail that you saw now has migrated on this house. On the left side, you will see there's a joinery happening in the masonry. And what happened was, when that particular plasticine wall that I was talking about to you guys, when that wall happened, I wanted to give that wall a sort of a presence in the front of the south facade. And that was very, very important to me. So I notched this south wall and actually brought the west wall to have a presence on the front facade of the house, because that was the first wall. And then these walls kind of open up and they give birth. This is a sort of a marriage of these two walls and the concrete wall beneath. And this particular window is born out of that marriage of these two particular and the walls that are coming together out there. And then we took this detail of this particular flower, we took this color and painted that wall to celebrate. So when you're arriving, you're walking towards the house, this abstract flower basically greets you to come in. And then as you go back to the road, you're seeing that same wall on the left side, and you're seeing this abstract way of entering, which is a medieval gate, if you will. And there's a man gate in this on the left side, which announces the presence or shows us the entry to the main house. So as you come, you will see that there's a very, very subtle angle to that fabric wall, which is actually like in India we actually bow down to greet people in. And so this entire fabric scrim is sort of bowing down to allow people to come in, to greet people to come in. So architecture to me is not just a building, it's not just a piece of material put together, but it's also anthropocentric, which it is. It is for the people, by the people. And so what I'm trying to say here is it actually has the expressionism of the human emotion in the facade characteristics of the house. So here you will see in the middle there's this gate that I'm showing, which is from the Sarsford, which is my mom's house where she grew up. And I was inspired by this gate because it's corbelled. In India you will see everything is corbelled. And I abstracted that corbel to kind of join these two corners to create this particular angle that you saw earlier on. So when you look at this from the front, it's something that has very small openings because it's facing the south, and all the openings on the south are recessed in to avoid the sun. But whereas on the north side, I actually flirted with the architecture because the north light is welcome. It is a beautiful light that comes in, and it is something to be cherished inside. So you see this north side of the house. As you come in through the scrim, everything is perfectly aligned. There's an inside-outside relationship there. The door opens up. You're seeing the scrim, which actually drops the temperature by about 5 degrees when you're coming inside this little courtyard. And then when you see this entry door from the top, you see this alignment. I'm interested in the precision of construction that I was talking about. This glass, that there's this half-inch gap. That gap is perfectly aligned to the concrete down there, to the mullion here, and then so on and so forth, and goes and aligns with the scrim outside. So that scrim actually is giving privacy to the kids' bedrooms from the roadside. So now you're looking at what happens when I'm showing the wall sections. So let's look at these wall sections in reference to what I'm going to show you in the next slide. So if you look at this slide here, on the left side here, there's 8 inches of masonry that is removed. So another famous quote by me is, it says, architecture starts when you carefully put 2 bricks together. So I kind of interpreted that in a different way. To me, architecture even happens when you carefully remove a brick from the facade. And so on the right side, you're seeing there is a bathtub, and that corner detail that you're seeing, I removed that particular block from there. That suddenly allowed me to bring in light into the bathroom. And on the left side, on the bottom, you're seeing that yellow line. That yellow line is that glass. And again, that same detail that is started is a morph detail from that jewelry box that is allowing me to create this marriage of 2 materials right there, which gives birth to this eye of the Cyclops. And on the right side, you're seeing how that detail is happening in the plan as well as in the section. And on the top, there is glass. That glass is on the top here, but it's also in the plan. You're seeing how this particular detail is coming together. And if I go back now, look at this wall section here. This is the taller volume. And what I did was I removed the brick from the top as well as continuously here. That is allowing me to bring in this solstice light inside this staircase. And we'll see what that solstice light does. And then here there is this staircase. And then normally what happens is below the landing, people just typically store stuff. So I decided to give that landing space back to the outer space and created a window down there that gets this south light bounced inside and creates this ambient light. I'm really interested in creating ambient light in the desert. So you're seeing the same detail here. You'll see the marriage of the concrete wall that is rising up, marrying to this. And there's a fabric scrim here, and then the eye of the Cyclops on the top. And on the left side, you're seeing this equinox light hitting that particular thing, glass, that is actually bringing that beautiful light inside. Now, let's go back to where we entered from. This is where you come, and this is all concrete down there. And then there is a separation detail right here, which keeps the water out just in case any water comes in. This is outside space. The ceiling kind of space flows and brings in that light, which is, again, an ambient light, which becomes an important thing and central theme of my architecture. Here on the left side, you see that particular masonry joint that we created with that tool. And it's concrete, interiorly colored concrete on the floor. On the right side, you're seeing the kitchen, which is the stalagmite, if you will, that rises all the way to the second floor. I'm interested in doing many things because this particular thing in the kitchen is a linen closet on the top. It's a mechanical unit here. It houses upper and lower cabinetry. It houses the fridge. It houses the ovens. And it becomes like a mass that actually houses everything in place. And this particular window, I want you to keep in mind, and we'll come back to that later. So here now, we are looking at a construction document where I'm talking about this one red line right there, which is a sliding door. And that sliding door is the door to come to the master bedroom inside from the semi-public, semi-private area. You slide that door, you come into the master bedroom. And let's look at what that door is doing and how it is done. And so when you climb this staircase, again, that same detail that you saw on that jewelry box, on that coffee table, on the outside, is now happening in the staircase, where the tread and the risers are married together, and then the screw becomes the detail. That same screw goes here in the handrail. Outside here, you're seeing the mailbox, which is floating above this concrete wall. And in the backyard, you're seeing the detail of how that particular piece of metal is held. Every particular thing gets a way of expressing itself. The column expresses, the beam expresses, another rod there expresses itself and everything is put together, but they all have their own identity. And the way the column comes and meets the ground becomes, when where two things meet, becomes an interesting point to me, coming from Kanyan background. Here you're seeing that particular slot from inside now. So this is that door on the left side, which actually hangs as an architectural detail on display in the light of the solstice. So that brick that is removed from the front facade, it brings that light, but it also brings light from the sky. And that is the detail, how that particular piece of glass is actually channeled into this masonry, which is fully grouted. And you're seeing that detail, how, and it has never leaked in the last 14 years. It has been standing there. And then this is that window that I was showing you earlier. So that window is also, this particular wall is aligned on the summer and winter solstice. So here's how the summer winter solstice light comes in, and it celebrates that moment in the house. And it kind of helps you to realize that we are on a spinning planet. And on the left side, that is the ambient light coming from the Native American house that we saw earlier in the Marble Canyon. And then you come back, this is that central spine that we saw earlier. That particular window out there is actually the equinox window. And we look at this, on the right side, you're seeing the skylight, but you're seeing that same door parked on the wall, and it hangs on the wall as a detail. All right, so you look back and you see that magenta wall that we saw earlier. That magenta wall expresses itself, and it lures you into the other side of the house as you pull through. And there's another door there which actually acts as a screen, to hide that light, and obscure that light. This is the living room that you're seeing from the top down. And this is what happens when you go to that magenta wall. On the left side, you're seeing the magenta wall here. This is a loggia to the gym, and you come out and you open that up. You open, this used to be fabric. We recently changed that to the perforated metal that you're seeing on the left side. After about 13 years, the fabric sort of gave way and we changed that too. But originally, this is what it was. This particular panel slides, and Arizona has beautiful azure skies. Pluto was discovered here. And so this particular slide, the panel that slides, allows the kids to put up a beautiful telescope and look at the stars in the nighttime. And then you come back to the bathroom. This is that eye of the Cyclops that brings in that morning light that you saw from outside. And then there is this detail about the ladder. And this is the hammam, as I call it, because the height of this bathroom is 16 feet tall. That brings in south light from here, east light from here, that balances each other when you're getting ready to go to work. And then you come outside and everything becomes sort of calm and serene. And then you sit there and watch this beautiful sunsets to the east, to the west side. And we'll look at this notch. There's a notch right there that we talked earlier. That notch lives there. This is the guest house. The color comes from the Buddhist robe. There are second generation Buddhists here. And so here's a detail of how that fabric was mounted. Now look at this detail on the left side. This is the post on the right side here, which is 4 inches. It is separated by a standoff. And then there is this pipe, continuous pipe, which you're seeing here. And the fabric comes around and it goes around this tubing, steel tubing. The fabric goes inside here and then it loops around and comes back. And then there is a circular EMT, I call it the electrical conduit pipe, that is inserted in this hemmed fabric. And then suddenly what happens is the fabric is tensioned and it cannot escape because the gap here is too small for this pipe to come out. So suddenly what happens is you see only this fabric white line instead of seeing the steel tube. And up close here, you're seeing that the fabric is wrapped around. So the idea was that I wanted to create the line of fabric rather than the line of metal. So here on the right side, you're seeing how this thing ends. It comes and expresses, the column is expressed, the tubing is expressed, And all of that gets an identity of its own in the architectural expression. Now, this on the right side, you're seeing the Modera temple, which is the when I was there in 2007 with a bunch of other American architects who traveled with me. On 21st March and September 22nd on equinox days, you can actually see your own shadow inside all the way into the Garbhagriha. Same thing happens in this house. When you stand across that window, you see your own shadow kind of spreading across 100 feet into the house. So detail and how the detail is expressed really, really matters to me a lot. Here we come back to the master bedroom loggia, if you will. Look at this particular concrete cast that was made by my two students from ASU. There's a fabric curtain outside that adds sensuality to this master bedroom balcony against this really stark and stoic concrete block, and it adds suddenly this sensual way of how this fabric curtain bellows. And it is idea of diffusing this corner of the cube. And so that's what this is doing. And again, you're seeing the fabric down there. Okay, this is how that particular cast was made. We made this using the sun angles of their wedding anniversary. And we wrote our names for the archaeologists here. And that cast is now on this balcony right there. And when the sun hits it on May 3rd, that particular light of 7 a.m. comes into the house and it shines this window just for 2 minutes. So that's what this particular detail does, but the amount of work that goes in creating that effect is absolutely tremendous. And then the sun sets into that slot on their wedding anniversary at the same time. And it comes from my sketch from Chaco Canyon in New Mexico while I was here as a graduate student. And the last and not but the least, the detail of the hands of the entire families is in the cast in place concrete. With that, I move on to the another project called Summers. This was a remodel project. This house is a very small, about 1,800 square feet. And the gray portion of the house is where I'm not touching. This is existing house. I'm only adding the master bedroom, master bathroom to the right side corner. I'm adding a garage to the left side corner and creating something to the front of it. So these are the drawings of that on the right side. And this is the finished product that you're seeing. You're seeing the fabric eyebrow out there. I'm going to talk to you about that in a second. There's a rain collector, rain harvesting channel out there. And on the left side, you're seeing how the fabric is mounted. I took a 2x2 tube steel, which is galvanized, which is mounted underneath into the old wood we are seeing on the right side here. And the gutter that is collecting the rainwater, it is closed off here, so I can divert all the water to the other side. And from underneath, you have this countersunk screw that you don't actually see. It is kind of flush with this thing. And then these are lag bolts that are bolted into the fascia. And the fabric comes and is held by the lag bolt and the flat bar that is holding the fabric tight and taut. So on the other side, you're seeing the channel comes out. And this is nothing but a metal, brake metal. Okay, so this is Galvalume, which is galvanized aluminum. And you break the metal like this, and then the channel comes out and pours the water into the cistern that we collect for the rainwater harvesting. Here, the same thing we're doing on the left side. The channel comes out, and you're seeing that. This is the construction. So here's where I'm trying to utilize the existing masonry to reduce the cost of the footing. So I'm taking these columns and mounting them on the side by grouting the masonry. We cut this open and brought this in. And we put this channel here, the gutter, that collects all the water and brings it down, collect all the water and brings it down here. You're seeing this channel right there, the gutter comes out. And then this gap allows me to take the hot air out. And suddenly you get this beautiful patio in which you sit and you enjoy this breeze coming and going out. This channel comes out and it expresses itself as an architectural detail. On the other side of the house, it kind of comes out and catches this water and then pours it out there against this glass. And then there is this celebrated spiral staircase that leads you into the terrace. And the spiral staircase is a beautiful corkscrew, because they wanted to have wine at the end of the day. So I said, you're going to take the corkscrew and a wine bottle, so you're going to get a corkscrew staircase. So that's what this is. This is a complete corkscrew that comes down, it expresses itself, and then as you come up, you come to this particular terrace. You see this camelback mountain, as though the camel is sitting, a beautiful sunset on it. And this fabric, the same fabric, is now giving me this screen as privacy from the neighbors, but it's also screening the mechanical equipment on the roof. And this is the staircase now, which is fully rusted. And the rust in the desert is a good thing, because it stops the further deterioration of the metal, because it's absolutely dry. Pay attention to this window that I'm pointing at. That particular window brings in morning light. This is the detail of that. This is a section through this. The morning light actually comes through here, and it comes inside and it explodes, because the frosted glass does that. So this is the brightest this particular bench in the shower shines. And as the sun traverses through the sky, the intensity of this bench diminishes. And all the way in the evening, that same bench becomes a lantern. And that is all powered by the solar energy. So again, I'm talking about the pragmatics and the poetics of the sun right here. In their garage, we have introduced glass into the masonry, and that masonry shines when they come back home. This particular wall brings in daggers of light into the garage, and the skylight from the top allows him to work. He's a woodworking guy who likes to do that, and that's what the light is on his woodworking bench. But this particular glass slots bring in light. I'm moving on to the next project called Asher. It's for two Indian doctors from Mumbai who live here in Chandler, Arizona. And they came to me and said they want to remodel the house. So we imported all this stone from India. It's the Kota stone. And we separated all of that from the old and the new, and with this river rock. And here you're seeing the detail of a staircase. Now you're seeing that same detail that started from that jewelry box has morphed into a finger joint now. Look at this finger joint into the staircase, and that staircase is held by this maple stringer, which is, and then the stairs is made out of walnut, and there's glass out here, and you will see how that particular thing comes together. So here, this is the detail, that finger joint happens right there, and it's almost like the carpet created out of wood, and it's a beautiful thing to walk on. It's very easy to go up. There is a detail right here, how this particular handrail is mounted to the thing, and here you can see the glass is mounted to the maple stringer with the walnut stairs. Here, there's a close-up to that, and then the same detail gets implemented into their kitchen countertop, and you can see that detail right there. This is their breakfast area where the kids are getting ready to go to work, to the school, and that particular detail ties across the house. This same detail happens on the stairs. So I love to tie details across like a string that holds the beads of a mala. D-Lap house, this is under construction now. So this is on the right side. This is how the house was abandoned by the previous client, and this is how I was brought in to do something with this house. And so I took over. And this on the top right side, left side, you're seeing the plan, and on the left side bottom, you're seeing the driveway that brings into the comes into the motor court, and then there's a 4-car garage right there. That garage is right here. You come to the motor court, and this is the entry that comes in, and this is the living, dining kind of kitchen kind of space. All the bedrooms are at the back. The master suite is right here. And I was inspired by the prickly pear. That earlier picture, if you remember the flora, there was that Fibonacci series. That prickly pear leaf, when it dries, it has a pattern. And I started studying that pattern and see how I could use that pattern to bring into architecture. So these are the construction documents of that particular entry that you saw. That entry is happening right here, and we are going to look at that entry, how that is detailed. So this is the plan of the entry. You come in from here, you're walking on the grating, and then there's this main door, which is a offset pivot door. You come in, and the grating continues. So there is an indoor-outdoor relationship again. These are the two sections. And I cut open this thing looking left and right. You're seeing this pattern kind of abstracted into this scrim. And you look at this scrim, this is a digital model of that. And there's a bench that is actually luring you to the entry. There's a carpet of tiles that is embedded into this particular grating on that bench that is detail, which is anchored into the concrete, and it goes out and comes back, and there is wood piece on it, which is that. And then this is the same section that you're seeing on the right side, on the left side, and then that is that bench in the digital model. That is the scrim. That is the abstract pattern coming from the prickly pear thing. So this is still under the construction, but someday I will show you the finished product. But look at this detail on the right side. This particular window has this, again, this human emotion. So I'm interested in the ethos. By creating the ethos, I need to have the logos, which is the logic, and the pathos, which is the emotion. Both of them, when they come together, an ethos is produced. So here's the thing. This detail of this particular window is about the human emotion of anticipation. So when you're throwing a party and you're waiting for the guests to come, your ears are heightened, your hearing is heightened, and you may sometimes kind of hallucinate. You may feel that somebody has knocked on the door, but there is really no one. And so that heightened idea or heightened expression of that hearing is what is expressed in this particular window. So if you look at this detail in the section, I'm taking the steel, and I'm bending it up like a ear of the house, and I'm as though the ear is perched up to listen to what's happening and awaiting for somebody to ring the doorbell. So it expresses itself to sort of do that particular expression of the human emotion, because again, it's for the humans by the humans. This is a section through the mountain, and that's the sectional model that is you're seeing on the right side. And again, I'm interested in the sun and how the sun traverses through the sky. So here's the model of these sun lures, because this entire facade has this beautiful view, but it's also facing the west. So I have to have this responsibility as an architect to not blast that sun on that glass and increase the carbon footprint. So what I did, I created this aerofoil lures, and these aerofoil lures are constantly tracking the sun. So the moment the east sun clears the mountains and comes to the west side, it starts tracking right here. There's a detailed sketch that I made on my iPad. The sun angle is studied right from 1 o'clock onwards, and how these lures can actually block that sun and create shade. And as the sun moves to the west, these lures are tracking as like the leaves or the sunflower. So that's the detail of that. And on the right side, you're seeing again, this is a detailed sheet of the kitchen island. A whole sheet is made up for the kitchen island. On the right side, this is the conceptual sketches. You're seeing there's a rhino model on the right side, and then that rhino model is translated into AutoCAD drawings. Right here, there's a detail. These are the elevations, and the steel plate is holding that particular fiberglass, the color high raised bar. And then these are particular details. This is how the electrical panel comes, switches come in, and you can actually sit on here, put your computer, and then put your wire in here and plug it in. A lot of thought goes in how the end user is going to use that particular thing. Again, this is a detail sheet for a particular fireplace in the master bedroom. You're seeing this fireplace, which is right here, where two chairs are. People can sit. This is an inside-outside fireplace. On the left side, you're seeing the rhino model of that. On the right side, you're seeing the detailed plan cutting through the fireplace and how it is held by the column, how it is connecting to the wall, how I'm bringing the gas inside here. And on the bottom, you're seeing the particular the models that we created a book out of. There are 150 details that we created. Anyway, so this is the last slide of this particular project. This is where it is today. I stripped down the complete fascia, exposed that beautiful steel beam, and that's where the lures are going to happen at some point. But this is how it actually perched up on the mountain. And then I'm going to go to Singapore. I'm going to show you what I did for ADAS in Singapore in 2010 to 13. And this is Sao and McCown designed building. They are the two students of IMPay. And I was hired by ADAS to completely change the facade of this entire complex, not the towers, but the 4 floors. And then these are the new facade that is being built on the right side. On the left side, you're seeing the convention center, which is a huge space frame. This entire space frame is actually the structural frame that is hanging all of these floors from the top. So these columns go up, the frame comes down, and then all the subsequent floors, 7 floors, are hanging literally from this space frame down. So all the columns inside are in tension and not in compression that we are typically used to. And this space frame is so big that an entire 747 Boeing can be parked inside. So this is the particular space frame. These are the 4 towers on the side. Then there is a fountain in the center, which was the world's tallest fountain in 1996 when I was in Singapore earlier. So what I was posed the challenge with, this is the state of the fountain when I took over in 2012. And they said, we need to change this fountain. These are all the retail and food and beverages and all of that, and they're suffering because this fountain is in dilapidated state. So I was standing on the corner here, and they turned the fountain on, and I saw a rainbow in the midst of this fountain. And I said, I got to capture this rainbow somehow. So what I did was I took all this glass out. I exposed this is where the glass was, and I extended all of that concrete slab out. I created this metal angle out here. And then on the metal angle, these are these custom stainless steel bars that are mounted to hold this handrail up there. And this became sort of the tallest glass in Singapore. It is 18 meters tall by 2.8 meters wide, single piece that was manufactured in China. And then all of this glass got connected here. The glass continued outside and became the handrail. And then inside, we mounted glass fins. And these glass fins are dichloric in nature. They have iridescent glass, as we call it. So as one moves into the space, this film, which is the integral film in the thing, it actually changes the color and captures the colors of the rainbow. So that was the last thing that I did in Singapore. And then I was moved to Los Angeles in 2013 by Morphosis Architects. And then I was thrown back into Singapore to create this transformation here for Kevin Roche's building. So this is on the left side that you're seeing, and this is the right side, the transformation that happened. And we'll briefly see how that was done. When I took over the project, these 3D models were already printed. They gave me this and said, Amit, we got to make this a reality. So I started working on these models, and how this particular thing was going to take shape, we will see in a minute. So what we did, we made drawings. On the right side, you're seeing the drawings that we made in the office, but then they became the shop drawings of this Japanese contractor. And these are panels, and this is a mock-up of that panel, which is on the right side. You're seeing the shiny one is this 316L stainless steel, which is held by 6061 T6 alloy of aluminum, which is used in the aircrafts because it's light and it is as strong as stainless steel, or steel, if you will. And you can hang all these panels using that because it's easy to mold it. And on the right side, on the left side of this, you're seeing the aluminum one. So obviously the client liked the shiny one, and we went with that because also it was stronger. And these are one of the most beautiful drawings done by a contractor, shop drawings. And we approved all these shop drawings and finally it got built. And there are 35 floors of these 316L stainless steel, acting as a sun shading device, and dragging that building from the static um, uh, facade to a completely dynamic facade of the 21st century. And you're seeing the columns also clad in stainless steel, and you're seeing these beautiful panels. And then these are some of the drone shots taken by someone I don't know, so I couldn't give them the credit. But these are some of these finished products that you're seeing. And then this is the up close idea that was given to me, and this is how I was able to bring it to this level. This is when you are inside the building looking out. And then we did lighting experiments with it. The guy who lit the Eiffel Tower was hired, and they created an amazing job. They're out of Belgium to light up this particular facade. And this is where Roland Halbe, he is a Dutch photographer, very famous these days, and he travels around the world and took these photos, and they're absolutely stunning. With that, I think, coming back to the scale of the details, this is all the details that went into the house, and we created these beautiful 3D models and created the city of details. So detail has no scale. Any scale from any large can become small, and something that is absolutely small can become large. And I'm going to end this particular talk today with a Louis Kahn quote, who has been my mentor's mentor. And he says that architecture has no presence, music has no presence. However, the work of architecture, the work of music has the presence, which is offered by the artist to the sanctuary of all expressions. Thank you very much.
Wow. Great, Amit. It was indeed a stunning presentation. Really, really, fantastic presentation. So I keep the session open for any question answers. I would request students who have questions may put your cameras on so you could ask and connect with Amit, maybe though digitally, virtually, but at least we can see who is asking the question. So if anyone wants has any questions or wants something more to be explained by Amit, you can ask the questions. Anyone? I can see apart from BKPS, some few other college students also logged in. So they also might have some questions. So anyone from the audience who has a question may ask the questions to Amit. Okay, Amit, I have one question. Can I ask?
Absolutely, go for it.
Yeah. So my question is that we are generally under the impression that particularly in the US, you have a lot of prefabricated technology coming in. So you have to deal with a lot of prefab construction units. So what is the scope of architectural detailing per se in larger projects? Because maybe in residential projects, probably it becomes, we have a larger scope. But in larger projects, how do you, as an architect, perceive the scope for detailing?
So the only prefab, if I may, that I've worked on is that project in Singapore that I showed you just now. Yeah. Where all those panels were actually manufactured in China, and they were shipped out to Singapore. So the detailing to me in that particular case was mostly the metal detailing, right?
Okay.
And so what happens is the sequence, here's the sequence how we work in mostly in the bigger projects, is you have an idea and you actually work as a design assist with a contractor. So this contractor comes on board right from the day one.
Hmm.
And then you basically work hand in hand with the guy and say, all right, this is what we want, and so can we make this happen? And so they help you with the detailing, because they have to think about the practical aspect of how they're going to actually build it in the end, right? So what we did was that mock-up that you saw, we hired Zaner in Kansas City, and we actually worked with them hand in hand, and we created the mock-up. We actually fine-tuned the mock-up, and then that mock-up was supposed to actually get shipped all the way to Singapore, which did not happen, unfortunately. But then we had to go to Singapore and explain to the local contractors that this is what it is. This is an exemplary mock-up that you have to follow. And so we sit down with them and we actually work out every detail before it gets manufactured. And so then they make these shop drawings of this prefab. Then they get made somewhere else in the factory in China. They get shipped. And then that's how we install them in the field. So I don't know if that answered your question or not.
Yes, kind of.
No,
Yes.
you can ask me again if you feel like. No problem. Yeah.
There are two questions and kind of observations also. I can
Yes.
see one, Apurva Patil. Are you there, Apurva? Are you there in the audience right now because you have posted?
Yes, sir, I'm there.
You can ask yourself. You can, put on your camera and ask him directly. No issues. Hello, Apurva.
Yes, sir. My question was like, as we are students now, and after 2 years or 5 years, we'll be out practicing our things. So, can you please elaborate on how did you start your career as a beginner?
Maybe
Wow. This.
particularly in a foreign country, probably.
Yeah. So, like I said in the beginning, I first of all, I have to express my gratitude to my mentor Anant Raje, and he actually set a wonderful background for me, a platform for me, right from IIM. And when I was in the, or rather, came to the US, people already kind of knew Rajay, but also they knew the project that I worked on. And so that actually gave me a wonderful platform to work with some amazing architects in the valley here in Sonoran Desert. And then, but in the beginning, I was in Singapore. In '93, I migrated to Singapore with absolutely no money with me, right? So I struggled in Singapore. It was a complete change. And then I came to the US after about 4 years of break as a graduate student. And then after graduation, I worked with a bunch of architects. And then finally, what I did, I actually worked with a contractor. And I absolutely recommend every student of architecture to work in a contracting firm and learn the practical aspect, the pragmatics of construction. And that gives you the idea about how to put things together. And then you are grounded. When you're drawing something, that line is not just a line on paper, but it's actually an edge of a material. And so when you think like that, when you draw a line, you actually become that material. So when you learn all of this with a contracting company who are designers and builders, so they do turnkey jobs, right? So at any moment, you can talk to an engineer, you can talk to a field guy, you can take your sandwich and go to the field. So I learned a lot about how to build in the Americas. I did not know anything in how to build. I knew how to build in Singapore. I learned something in India, but in America, it's completely different. You come from metric system, you go into feet and inches, and it becomes a big challenge. So I've worked and worked and worked with really great firms, and then finally a project fell in my lap through my wife's contact, and that Essence of the Desert project that I showed you was the first project I ever did. And that was something, and I didn't show you entire portfolio. I had no time. Normally this lecture goes for about 2+ hours, but I had to cut it short. So a lot of the projects I did not show you. But yes, this is how I started. I took risks. I encourage everybody to take risks. Okay, even if you go bankrupt, just make sure that you are able to take risk in life, because without risk there is really no future. You have to take risks in life. You have to take risk and push the envelope of architecture, right? You have to take the risk and say, yes, you have a great life partner who is anchored, so I can take the risk to kind of do something out there and try out and experiment. So that's how I started, guys. This is how I started, from that small jewelry box.
Thank you so much, sir.
Very good advice that learning to build, right from the field is very important, because otherwise architects tend to be only on the drawing table and they really don't know, what actually goes into making things on field. So very good advice, and I think the students they have learned a lot from your presentation. There are some observations made in the chat box. I'll just read it out for you. There is one message from Manish. Manish, are you there? He has left a message in the chat box. Yeah, I'll just read it out, Amit. Manish
Yes.
Banker. Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, he says, Amit, so good to find your enthusiastic spirit in your presentation. Thank you. Please inform what makes you keep going on and encompassing macro to micro in what you do.
Oh my God, that's an amazing question. That's why I probably left. Nothing. I think, to me, passion is the only thing that drives you. You have to be 101%, or rather 200% passionate about what you do. If you have slightest of doubt, I would say don't practice architecture. What really keeps me going is the environment. And the environmental crisis today is one of the most important crises that the whole world is facing. And 40% of the global warming and all the destruction, architects are responsible for that. I don't know if you guys know, the construction industry contributes 40% to the global energy crisis, the global warming crisis. Okay. And my whatever role that I play here, I try to see however sustainable I can be. I'm inspired by Glenn Murcutt's work and his talks and his writings and his commitment to sustainability. So that's what I can tell you. The only thing that really keeps me going is the passion for architecture. That's it. So keep falling, keep getting up, keep falling, keep getting up, but don't give up. So anyway, is there anything else, Abhijit?
Yeah, Amit, this is Abhijit, I'm Manish here.
Yeah, great.
Oh, Manish. Great. Turn on your camera.
Let me. I'll just turn my camera on.
Let me see your smiling face. There you go.
Oh, so good to see your presentation, Amit. So good.
Thank you for your support. Yeah.
Okay, great. No, what support, man. You have wonderful inner support from your own side. I don't think you need any support. The way you keep on going. Amit, amazing to see your work and, to find such a wonderful connection. Thankful to Abhijit, to put this program together. And I'm sure the students have a lot of things to carry from here, from you.
Thank you.
Yes, so my question, I don't know, because I missed out on that, Abhijit, when you announced my name, because by mistake, I had clicked wrong button, so I just
Yeah. I did read out your message to Amit, and Amit did answer it. Yeah.
Okay, fine, good.
So thank you. I mean, if there is any questions, I have all the time, guys. Seriously, I mean, ask me to your heart's content. I'm at your disposal, right here, right now. Yeah.
I mean, I can put things just to inspire students that what puts you, in US so comfortable while being well connected with India. So I see that there is a kind of a good link. You have extended, rather I see that you extended the footprint of India, even in the US, more than you
Wow.
being settled down in US. So if you
Thank
would like to elaborate that, for the students to know that
Yeah. So,
how
um,
carry, how do we carry ourselves, while being rooted in the India?
so here's the thing, right? I mean, I think one has to first of all know the roots, right? Know
Hmm.
your roots, because I when I was in India, I used to travel quite a bit, and Manish knows we used to sketch quite a bit. There could be a whole new lecture on just sketching in architecture, right? So one has to know the roots, and also understand the Indian ethos of architecture. I would really encourage you to really understand, because most of the colleges in India, unfortunately, just emphasize on the Western architecture and modernism, and we never talk about literally, unless you're taking a history class or something. I would say study the ethos of Indian, not the contemporary Indian, not the masters, not the masters of the masters, whoever they were, but I would say go back in time and understand how the Indians have built in the desert climate, or in wherever they have built. Go to Rajasthan, go to South India, go to East and Meghalaya, and wherever you want to go. Study the Indian ancient and medieval architecture before the modernism happened, or before the advent of the Europeans came. Understand that very clearly. The second thing I would say, study the philosophy of India. Study the yogic philosophy, the Vedanta. All that philosophy and yoga has really helped me quite a bit in expanding my awareness about architecture quite a bit. So I would say that is what brings this ethos in my work, and the meaning in my work, because I'm constantly thinking about the sun. The sun plays an amazing role. Like I said, I can't even lift my finger without the sun. Just imagine that, right? So the sun worshipping in India came from this gratitude towards the sun, and see how the sun is shaping architecture all over the world. The HVAC systems have completely destroyed that, and it's become the leveler of architecture. Any building in China or any building in India or in America looks the same just because we have HVAC systems. But that is what is killing this planet. That is why we are destroying this planet at the rate of unbelievable. So I would say respect the Mother Earth. Touch the Mother Earth lightly. It's a beautiful book by Glenn Murcutt. I would say read. Every student of architecture should read that book. All right. So that with that, I think when you go out, you're always grounded in your culture, in your architecture, in your philosophy, and then you also understand what the other countries and other cultures are bringing into you, and then you try to blend all that. You put it in a blender and blend it and see, and you do the justice to all of that, you know but most importantly, do justice to the climate, do justice to, and not be enamored by the social media and all this stuff that you see on the internet. Guys, it is all seductive. It is all really beautiful to look at on the screen, but you can't say that I just want that at any cost, because it may not even work in the environment that you are in. So that would be my message to all the students moving forward. And this is what I teach at ASU. I actually create that awareness through the work, through the studios. And if any of you wanted to come to Arizona State University, please apply and come and study with us here. It's beautiful. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Amit. Very good words of advice to the students. And indeed, we have the subject of climatology and environmental architecture as
Yes.
subjects,
Yes.
integrating them into design. And actually, you actually demonstrated what it means to integrate concepts of climatology into design, and not only as part of environment or kind of climatological strategies, but also as design principles, how you align the equinox, and how, there is some connection with the climate and the sun as human beings also. And in
That's
your
right.
buildings, I particularly found that connection just beyond shading. It is how we connect and align ourselves with the sun. Very
Correct.
nice it was. Yes, indeed.
So, then what happens is you don't have a preconceived notion about something, right? So
Yes.
this is why I make that kundali of the sun that you saw,
Yeah.
that circle. I
Yes.
always draw that. That's the first thing I draw on the site. And I understand the sun, and then every decision then of the architectural expression is then informed by the sun and how the sun is moving through the sky. And you are then honest to that. Okay. And then the pragmatics and the poetics can be balanced to create something meaningful for the humans to inhabit it. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So I think there
Anybody
don't seem
else?
to be any more questions. There don't seem to be any more questions. So we come to the conclusion of this talk. So on behalf of
This is Shahid.
there is one question.
Oh, there's one student asking.
Yeah, Shahid, please.
Yes, thank you, Amit sir. This was indeed a great presentation. Like
Thank you.
I would rather not tell you, but tell the students that this is how you take the journey of architecture, like from a thought to a story, and from a story to a visual language, and the language is then built into a form and different shapes, and how details are being worked out, where afterwards every individual on this earth can embrace that for their entire life. So this is how it has to be done in architecture, and this is actually for the students to learn from your presentation, and the way you have presented, the way your slides were there, and the way you talked within the stipulated timeline. Everything that you have done in this presentation is something to learn to the students from you. And thank you so much for this indeed great presentation.
Thank you, Shahid. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks for your great comment. Yeah.
And thanks to Nathu sir to bringing you in and let everybody know about your work and the things that you have done. Thank you, sir.
And another thing I would like to say to the students, that pursue other things in life, not just architecture. Yes, architecture you pursue like your girlfriend or a boyfriend, but something else other than architecture, you take it up. Learn how to paint, learn how to play some musical instrument that actually will evoke other aspects of your brain, the right side of your brain. Okay. So learn something about music or painting, and study painting. Take classes in fine arts school, or be informed about because the fine artists are really free. Architects are not free. Another Khan quote that comes to my mind is, he says that a painter can paint the wheels of a cannon square to oppose war, right? But the architect has to make them round because he's responsible. So learn from these painters, learn from these sculptors. Okay, get inspired by that, or try your own paintings in the meantime, or go sketch something. I think it's really important. I play tabla, right? I know Abhijit knows this. But because of that tabla, it has actually helped me to even pursue and bring that rigor in architecture, because tabla is all about the rhythm, right? The drum has a rhythm. Within that rhythm, I have the freedom within that discipline to do something which is meaningful, right? So I'm always talking about how can I create something based on trital or a japtal or another tal that I can take, and the rhythm of that, can I create a building out of it? So it is important to learn different things, and not just architecture. Yes, architecture, you take it and you take it and pursue it, but you pursue other things along with that which are complementary and supplementary to that. so that you actually have this more matured and a different take on things.
Yes. True, Amit. So, with this, I think we come to an end of this session. It will be pretty late for Amit because we are just in the
I'm
morning.
okay. Look, I have coffee going here.
Keeping
I
you
know
awake.
it's way past my bedtime, but it's okay. Anything for architecture.
Yeah, yeah. So if there are no more questions, I again at the end I again once again thank Amit Upadhye from USA for having spared time and made such wonderful presentation for BKPS College of Architecture. So hopefully when this lockdown opens up and when the things get to normal and Amit is in India, I extend my invitation to Amit to visit our college in Pune. So
Sure.
So I'm looking forward for that, Amit.
That'll be nice.
Yeah.
Yes, it'll be an honor to come there.
So with this, we come to end of the presentation and the session. And next Saturday, 21st of August, we are having presentation by landscape architect Ajayan Dharab, who is a senior landscape professional in Pune, and he will be presenting his detail probably in landscape design in Tale of Detail lecture series, session 3. So welcome all for the next Saturday presentation. I'll be sharing the link shortly. And tomorrow we have Independence Day. So wishes and greetings for all of you for the Independence Day, 15th
That's right.
August. Yeah.
That is correct. It's still 13th here, so it didn't hit me.
Okay. Thank you
Okay.
so much. Yeah.
Thank
We are
you.
signing
You
off.
guys
Yeah.
have all wonderful weekend, and we'll
Yes.
see you next time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bye.